So if you're a racing fan of a certain age, perhaps you know what this name means to the sport of auto racing. But if you don't, let me give you a little bit of a history lesson. Once upon a time here, there was a kart race called the Miami Grand Prix. Of course, the Miami Grand Prix, to younger fans, a lot of people will be thinking about Formula One, of course, down at the Hard Rock Stadium. But this race hosted several kart events between 1985 and 1988. The most famous of all of those was the first one in 1985, which featured a battle between Al Unser's Sr. and Jr. for that year's Kart World Series Championship. Unfortunately for this event, hurricane season really wreaked havoc because Kart wanted to actually move the event back. It was in October at the point, but promoter Ralph Sanchez said, no way, that's going to work in Florida. But Ralph Sanchez ultimately ended up promoting a race in Bicentennial Park in 1995 for kart, and then moved to his new racing facility in Homestead Miami Speedway in 1996. And of course, Homestead Miami Speedway is still alive and well today. But amazing to me is that Tamiami Park, in a lot of ways, is a ghost track. I would estimate around 75% of this racing surface is still here, and you can still drive on it with your passenger car. In this video, we will take a look around Tamiami Park, show off some of the remnants of what was once here, and then I will be driving a full lap, well, as full as I can make it, of this legendary racing facility. So obviously, we've seen a ton of this racetrack, and right here you can see curb, Armco barrier. This would not be a very safe place to sit if this was 1987, but thankfully it's not. However, I'm going to try to give you guys a taste of what this racetrack was like in real life. I've got my camera, I'm going to set it up in the passenger seat, and we're going to take a lap of Tamiami Park in 2022. All right, so here we are at Tamiami Park in Miami, Florida. We're going to try to do a quote-unquote clean lap, meaning I'm going to try wind safe to run the racing line. Obviously, I'm not going to go very fast, mainly because they've got big old speed bumps throughout this track. So if you look off to your right, this is the parking lot for the football stadium for the college over here, and this is actually what used to be the main straightaway and the pit lane. It's all gone. All got the dozer. As far as I can tell, there's not really many remnants of that. So really what you're looking at here, straightforward, is essentially the exit of the pits and the exit of turn 1 here at Tamiami Park. You can see actually the Armco on the side of the road. So what we're going to do here is we're going to back up, and actually this corner you're about to see that is now here, I believe is actually much wider, or much less of a tight radius. This original turn 1 was a very tight radius. So here we go down this first short straightaway. Now you can see off to your left the double layer Armco is still here. And it's amazing to me how much of this track is still here, and this is where we're going to get our first real good look at how much of this track is. Here's the entry curb to the second corner here at Tamiami. We're going to take a running stop, and then we're going to get down to the apex curbs there, you can see actually the color is still there on the curbs on the inside. More Armco here to the outside of the racetrack. We're going to come over here. We're going to go over this speed bump. You can see the Armco on the side of the road. Try not to make too many of these people nervous. And then we're going to dive down here to the curbs on the inside of the track. We're just going to kiss those because we can. We're going to look, make sure there's no pedestrians, car coming. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to quite take the racing line all the way down the straightaway. But as you can see, this long straightaway, and really it's long for a car that's going 15 miles an hour, not really if you're in a kart car going 150 miles an hour, and they would have been getting probably close to that down at the end of this straightaway. But you can see how intact this is. Guardrails on both sides, and you can tell it's the proper stuff because it's the double layer. There's one layer on top and one layer on bottom. That was the safety standard of the 80s, and now here we go. If you were driving this track in real life, you'd come out way wide here for this chicane. The chicane, one of the more well-known features of this racetrack. Clip the curb on the entry, then try to get over here, and this is, unfortunately, they put a speed bump right on the apex. You hit the apex, you come around here, and then you exit out wide a little bit. Find this curb right here. Again, another speed bump. Unfortunately, I think they kind of knew the racing history of this place. So the curb on the inside, then if you were driving this in real life, you'd come way wide out, all the way out to this curb, which is an entry, and this speed bump, I will just tell you, is very, very nasty. So gotta go real slow over that. Then you would turn in. Real fast corner here. You can see the curbs on the inside of the track. Just kind of gonna kiss those. I think this would be a late apex because as you can see, it leads out onto another straightaway. This is a very fast track. I think this would be, unfortunately you can't really revive this, at least in the old format, but man, this would be such a good track for the current cars because it's fast, it's wide. You can see more Armco here on both sides of the road, and unfortunately this is where we're going to start getting into places where the track has kind of been destroyed. So as we get out here, we got some entry curb right here. We're going to kiss that because we can go over the speed bump, and then we're going to go find the apex to this corner, and this is really where the track begins to go away. There's a little chicane here, and we're going to do a little off-roading because we can. I think we're allowed to do this. And then for whatever reason they put some gravel here, but then you come across here, and I believe this is another straightaway of the track. And what this straightaway right here would be setting up for is the back straightaway, which leads on to the main straight, which is obviously gone. Now this is where things get a little bit sketchy from the perspective of I'm not really sure what's the racetrack and what isn't anymore. I think in some ways the racetrack goes off to the right around here rather than further down here, but the pavement ends here, the wide pavement where they've got this, they paved Paradise to put up a parking lot. But we're still going to go down here because this is kind of, to me, at least gives you a sense of what the racetrack is like. I don't think the corner quite went down this far, but this is similar to what it was in Tamiami, getting on the back straightaway here. So this is the 90-degree right to get onto the back straightaway, and then this would have gone straight down, and then there would have been a kink to get onto the main straightaway, virtually flat out. But unfortunately, as you can see, we've got a big stadium here these days, so where champ cars would have been approaching speeds of 180, 190 miles an hour, unfortunately, football players are going a lot less fast these days. So this is my lap of Tamiami Park. This is how much of it you can still drive. It's amazing how much of it is still here. I'm just so blessed and thankful to be here and for this track to be here and be able to drive on it. I love this stuff. So this was my tour of Tamiami Park here on the outskirts of Miami, and I can't believe, just you look down there, and I know you guys see me at a lot of open racetracks, and I'm sure this is a bit of a culture shock because if you squint, you could believe that I'm covering a race here, in the 80s, and this is what I kind of thought to myself, is that when was the last time someone came here with the intentions of filming a racing circuit? Am I the first camera and mic here covering racing since 1988, since ABC Sports packed up and left. That's something to think about. And what else to think about is, I can just imagine 1988, names like Mario, names like Danny Sullivan, names like the Unsers, AJ Foyt, Pancho Carter, coming down here. Big wad. Maybe some of them are going to go off in that gravel trap down at the chicane. This is the kind of stuff I absolutely love. I love it and adore it, and I'm so glad that this is still used, because so many lost racetracks, you think about North Wilkesboro that may end up getting revived, you think about Nazareth, they're not public property. People can't use them. People use this every day. And so, you know, it's not wasteful, though it is a little bit sad that it no longer hosts racing, but it is great that it's still here and you can still experience it. You can still drive it. I can't believe I took a lap of this track. That's going to stick with me for a while. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for watching. So much coverage from Florida still coming. You're going to blow your mind. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more motorsport content. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.